Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
ABC.
Big welcome to Luton, Peterborough, who else Derby, Sheffield, Nottingham,
and the whole world through the World Wide Web.
And through the whole World Wide Web. Okay, folks. So, gosh, a lot has been going on this week. So, I, to be fair, I don't know if we will get through everything that we were hoping to. So, we're going to start. We're going to be speaking to Sister Latifa Begum at Muslim Council of Britain about something they're putting together for the community in Ramadan, which is called the 2026 Election Toolkit, to give Muslims a better idea about how to engage during the upcoming election period. I'm sure listeners, you'll have noticed that there's local elections coming up in the next few months. Of course, we're a long way from...
I'm not sure Luton is one of them, though. Is Luton one of them? I think there's local elections up and down the country. Luton, I think it was out of sync, as far as I understand.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. To be fair, I didn't think we were in line for it anyway. Right, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Sister Latifa Begum. So a quick little bio about her. She's Public Affairs and Communications Manager at Muslim Council of Britain. So she advises on national global advocacy campaigns and develops strategies on social justice and civic participation. And she's got over 15 years of working with policymakers and has worked with Muslim organisations for over a decade. And Latifa is a politics graduate from UCL, University College in London. Assalamu alaikum, Latifa.
Walaikum salam.
Welcome. We're actually alumni of the same university. I went to UCL.
Oh, great. Yeah, so it's a fantastic university.
Very long time.
Have you been back?
Well, not really. I've sort of walked past, but I left in 1994. Quite a long time. Alhamdulillah. All right, inshallah. So perhaps you could just give us an idea. So this 2026 election toolkit, of course, now this is going to be a great help. There's 4 million Muslims in Britain now. It's quite striking, actually. I think it was about 1 million when I became Muslim a long time ago. So perhaps you could give an introduction. So what are the problems you're hoping to address with this toolkit?
Well, yeah, first of all, the campaign that the Muslim Council of Britain is running this Ramadan and also post-Ramadan is called Hungry for Change. The reason we wanted to launch this campaign is because it's so important for British Muslims to be engaged at a civic level in order to see some of the changes we actually want to bring about. Local elections are so important because we are electing individuals and candidates in our local area who actually make decisions that affect our everyday lives. So issues from education to housing, your council tax, when your bins are going to get collected, or if there are going to be youth provisions for the youth in your local area, really matter. So we've put together this political toolkit, really just to give everybody, community members, mosques and leaders within the community as well, a real step-by-step guide on why it's important to vote, but also how important it is that we all get off of our couch and get out there and actually vote on the 7th of May.
So, 7th of May. So there's a little bit of time for people to decide.
But the deadline to register to vote is actually the 20th of April. So if you haven't registered to vote, you're not going to actually get to vote. So that's a really important deadline for British Muslims who are not already on the voting register or the electoral register to make sure they're registered before the 20th of April.
Yeah. So I suppose if anyone's moved house or into a different flat recently and they're not sure that they're on the register, and they want to make sure they need to contact the local council, don't they?
Yeah, they can go on to the, registertovote.gov website and, make sure that the Electoral Commission has got the right address for them, because you'll get a voting poll card, and that will tell you your local place to go and actually vote. So really important, especially for students who may have moved. We actually have a whole guidance for them in the youth toolkit and the student friendly version on how they can still vote whilst they're on campus, for example.
So I'm your sister, it's up, one of the co-presenters there. Are you okay?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Just asking, does the MCB have a position on this? So usually, if you have big organisations, right, they say we're going to request our members to vote for you if X, Y, and Z, and it could be a number of things. Could be a list of criteria that you want your members or people who sort of follow you to say, these are the important issues from our perspective. Use those to sort of guide your voting. Are you doing that, or is it just purely a drive to get people to vote?
Well, we actually, in the toolkit, we have recommended 3 top areas that we have heard from our regional town halls when we've gone up and down the country, are genuinely top priority concerns for British Muslims. We know that there are so many different issues. So the top 3 issues that we're going to be asking community members to be requesting their candidates prioritize. The first is better, more inclusive spending of local budgets. So that includes making sure that local budgets go towards youth hubs, restoring youth services, but also sports and recreational facilities. So for young Muslim men and women to be able to participate in that. We also recognize that knife crime is a huge problem, and to ensure that more advocacy programs and educational kind of facilities are available in order to tackle knife crime. The second area is challenging the rise of Islamophobia. As you will know from the statistics, since March 2025, Islamophobia has been on the rise by almost 20%. And, this is an issue that we're constantly facing. We don't still have a statutory definition of Islamophobia, which means we can't hold local councils to account if Islamophobia is taking place even inside councils, and as we're seeing it on everyday street. So this is a really important second area that we encourage community members to tell their candidates who are running for their local area to prioritize. And the third area is solidarity through ethical spending. So we know a lot of councils have contracts with companies that unfortunately are investing in unethical organizations that are funding the genocide in Gaza. Of course, the genocide continues and is ongoing, and we want to call on individuals who are running for these roles in office to really prioritize boycotting and divesting away from these unethical companies.
Are you recommending in that particular order, or is there a particular reason why they're in that particular order?
It doesn't have to be in that order. We also kind of leave it up to community members. There's so many other issues that we've not been able to include in the toolkit, and we definitely encourage community members to come together. If mosques wanted to discuss what are the key issues they're facing, and then really kind of have that conversation with candidates in their area, that would be really influential. So we definitely encourage them to think also about the other issues, for example, services for the elderly, safety in their local community. These are all other issues as well that affect lots of people's lives on a day-to-day basis.
So what would you say within the toolkit? What would be the key ones? I mean, for me, for example, something that we come across a lot here, because I present the local news here. Certainly, knife crime is certainly an issue, and it just seems it's literally everywhere now. And it does seem that we do need not just a local strategy; we need a national strategy to actually start dealing with this.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, we're seeing the constant rise in, knife-related crime. There has to be a coordinated effort, as you say, from the national government level, and whatever policies are already in place are clearly not having that effect that we want to see on the ground. So we definitely encourage community members as part of this to have that whole conversation. Really, the whole purpose of our campaign is to encourage young British Muslims, but also people from all ages in our community, to go out there, meet with the candidates, talk to them, and tell them, look, this is a real issue, especially for the youth. We have young people who are sadly dying from stabbings, and every day, and there needs to be more policies in place at a local level.
I mean, concerning the Islamophobia issue, I mean, it does seem that successive governments, as they change in the UK, they say, oh, that they are going to bring in a definition, and then we get change, and then it just puts back on the shelf again. I mean, that seems to have been going on for quite a while now. I mean,
yeah, it is quite frustrating. It's been an ongoing challenge for the British Muslim community. As you're all probably aware, there is an independent working group that has come up with a non-statutory definition, which has been shared, which has been now put forward to the Ministry for local communities. But we're still waiting. We're still waiting to hear back when they will actually adopt this definition. We have a widely accepted definition from the 2019 APPG on Islamophobia. That definition is still the widely used and widely accepted definition. But in terms of the day-to-day realities, we're seeing, of course, Ramadan is around the corner. Unfortunately, that is a time when Muslims are out. They're out very late. They're out at Taraweeh prayers, and the rise in Islamophobia-related attacks is quite likely going to spike.
Mm-hmm. Are you not giving instructions to people to vote in a particular direction? I know you said that you're going to do party endorsements, but are you comfortable doing disendorsements then, to ensure that Islamic parties don't get in?
Well, the Muslim Council of Britain is a non-partisan organization, and we also are a charitable organization. So that means that we have certain guidelines in the electoral law where we can campaign, where we are not endorsing any parties and we are not endorsing any candidates, or we are just encouraging the Muslim community to actually go out and find out about their candidates themselves and to make that informed decision. It's important that Muslim community members make decisions based on principles, because we all know the Quran commands us to enjoin what is good and forbid what is evil, and that is ultimately why we want them to make that informed decision. So they shouldn't or don't need to just vote for a Muslim candidate, but actually make a real informed decision by learning about the priorities and the history of that candidate themselves before they vote.
Indeed, but in terms of, I don't know what the charity law states, right? But what does it say about the fact that don't vote for anybody who's likely to do you harm?
Yeah,
right? So,
absolutely.
Don't be a turkey voting for Christmas. That type of advice.
I think most people.
I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think most people in our community are, they're very smart, and they know that hate is being spread.
They are very smart, right? But sometimes they make silly choices, though.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're seeing that. We're seeing defections happening, to various different parties. So I think it's really important that people understand, the British Muslim community understand, if we don't actually turn up and vote, we can't then afterwards complain when certain people get into power that we don't like. So I think this is really important, that we actually make an informed decision and go out and actually vote. And absolutely, there are evident individuals in society who are trying to cause that division and really, targeting the Muslim community at the moment. And I think it's really important. This is why political education in our community is so important right now.
I mean, it is very difficult at the moment deciding, who is going to be of the parties is going to be doing the right thing by your community, because there's so much there's so much change in our politics at the moment. I mean, I'm old enough to remember. I can remember when you had defections from Labour in the early 1980s, and you got the Social Democratic Party, the SDP, which then merged with the Liberal Party to give what is now called the Liberal Democrats. And then we've literally had no change pretty much since then.
But
literally now,
we've got the coming of another party, your party.
Well, no. What I mean is, we've now got the almost, well, let's face it, it's like a mass desertion of the Tories going over to shake hands with Nigel Farage. Really, I can't really see any difference. I honestly can't see where they're.
No,
I can't see where they're moving.
To be honest, they haven't really jumped that far.
Yeah.
Or they haven't. But it's the same group of people basically who are saying same things in one party.
The other change that I never thought I'd see, that there has been quite a significant surge of support for the Green Party, certainly since this new chap Zach Polanski has taken over. All I can see, he seems to be quite. He seems to be.
We're turning to a political show now, and I'm sure Latifa is not going to be part of our discussion. But for Green's a big idea about having sort of green vehicles and all that, electric vehicles. The idea is in prominence now, really, isn't it? So, well, I don't know what else they're going to. I guess.
Well, we'll perhaps pick it up later today or another time. But I've actually been going through a summary of their policies, and it's a lot more than that, actually.
Oh,
yeah. Latifa, why would you say it's important? What argument would you put out there to the listeners? I mean, obviously, you don't need to convince me and Zafar. I mean, you can tell that we're pretty keen on politics, and so you've already got our interest. What would you say to the listeners to get themselves inspired and interested in politics?
The first step is, you don't need to be very educated to actually exercise your civic and your democratic right to go out and vote. A lot of people are apathetic and they believe that voting isn't going to change anything, but actually for the local elections this will actually have a direct impact on your day-to-day life. The councillors you put into place, if those councillors are people who are not going to end up representing your concerns, your issues, you may be paying higher council tax. You might not have your bins collected. The rise of youth crime and general, lack of safety in your community can be impacted. So I would definitely say, this is a time in our society where we actually need Muslims to be getting out there and getting off their couches and voting. So we also have an opportunity for people to become a get out the vote champion. So if you're already going to your mosque, we really need people. We are 4 million Muslims in the UK. Can you imagine the impact we can have? Typically, we have a lower turnout at elections, and we need to change that around this time because actually our future really depends on it. So if people want to become a get out the vote champion and register people in their community to make sure they're actually registered to go and vote, they can do that by going onto our website, mcb.org.uk, and just filling out a form, and we will send them all the resources they need to actually get people signed up to register and vote.
I mean, I would definitely agree with everything you've said there. I mean, I've actually sat down and I've done interviews with some of our local councillors, and I'll be honest, I haven't perhaps agreed with some of the things that they're doing, but what I have to say is, when you've got councillors that are really passionate for what they're doing, I have really been impressed by the commitment of our local councillors that I've interviewed here at the radio station. They are very passionate people. They're in tune with trying to help the community. I mean, some things.
Which ones are you talking to?
Is it Javed Hussain?
Oh, right, okay.
He's one. So for example,
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off there, but
so for example, Latifa, they've been advocating having some red routes put in, and I'll be honest, I haven't been convinced about it.
Right.
on other things that they've spoken about, I have been impressed, certainly with Mr. Hussain. I have really been impressed with his passion.
Great. Yeah. And I think passion, the passion we see from councillors has to be matched up with actually doing the work that needs to be done afterwards. We know most councillors, they're not paid like MPs a handsome sum of money, right? They genuinely have to be in it for the real motivation of supporting the local community. Look, I'm a parent myself. I think being engaging with your counsellor is so important, because if you struggle to get housing, like many Muslims do, because they're stuck in social housing, your counsellor is going to be one of your first port of calls to actually advocate for you. So I think this is why it's important, whether you even if you meet counsellors with differing perspectives, that you go and you advocate for the issues that you care about, and let them know that actually I'm going to be voting soon. So if you don't take my concerns on board, my vote might go the other way.
Indeed, and I just echo the fact that it's a really difficult job, to be honest, right? Council is requires a lot of dedication, a lot of effort, because they're not, like you said, they're not fully paid jobs. They get allowances and stuff like that, basically. There's a lot of heavy duty decision making that needs to take place, which requires a lot of reading and getting on top of situations and things like that, basically.
But actually have a real impact. But actually have a real impact on people's day-to-day lives. Indeed.
So where are you hoping? Where can listeners find access to the voting toolkit?
Yeah, so if you just go on to our MCB, so www.mcb.org.uk website, you'll see a big banner that says Hungry for Change. You just click on that banner and it will take you directly to our political toolkit. We also have a poster which has a very simple step-by-step guide on how you actually need to register to vote. There's a QR code and everything, but for the less technically savvy people, we want you going out there. We want you to print that poster out, put it up in your mosque. We're also encouraging mosques to translate the poster. We're happy to also find people to translate these posters and get them out there so that it reaches all parts of our community.
Interesting conversation. Jazakallah, Sister Latifa, for your time. But very important. And although we jest and we joke in this program, very important topic, to be honest, to focus on elections and picking the right people for council, and also sort of I guess big up for the elected councillors, because it is a difficult job, to be honest, and there's a lot of responsibility. And big impact on the community based on decisions they make. So.
Yeah, and it is important, folks. I mean, I would urge you, at least if you're engaged, then if things aren't going the way you want in your local community, then at least you can feel, well, I've earned the right to moan and complain, because I have engaged. I've tried to find out what's going on, and as a point of Islam, remember. The Prophet, peace be on him, he said that the Muslim is the one who wakes up in the morning. The person who wakes up in the morning and doesn't think the affairs of the Ummah, in other words, what's going on in your community, isn't one of us. So the Prophet actually said, we should be in tune with what is actually affecting us. It's actually a part of our faith, because the whole thing about us being Muslims, it's not just what we're doing. We believe that we should be a really important part of the whole community that we live in. And that's why it's lovely to see, like, for example, in our local area, that we've got Muslim people in our council. And things like that is nice to see. And I'm not saying that to say that, a non-Muslim person can't be a great council. Of course they can. But what I'm saying is, isn't it lovely that we are at a stage in the UK that we are seeing Muslim people being really good councillors, and it is a good, positive thing to see. Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, Jazakallah, Latifa. Listeners, I think we're close to coming to the end of part one of the program, although the red lighting hasn't shown up. So excellent discussion we've had today.
It's just come up where we were minutes ago.
Oh, Sister Latifa. Listeners, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back after the break. We've got loads and loads and loads of things to discuss today. I'm not sure we're going to get through all of them, but our lovely producer today, he's nice producer, has actually given us lots of material to be working with and chatting about, inshallah. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be back right after these messages.
Salam.
Sorry. Right, yep, indeed. After these messages, we're going to come back.
Yes, sir.
Inshallah.
So apologise for that. Zafar has misread the timing.
Yeah, it's not right in front of my face. So.
Yeah, we're down to the last 5 seconds now. So inshallah, see you on the other side. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
To make it easier, shall I just put it on there?
Wow.
So then both of you can see.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
So I'll
Yeah.
put it there.
Put that over there so we both can see it.
Yeah, I'll put that. Isn't it holding you?
Yeah, it is. Can you put the thing on?
Oh no, man! Just take it off.
Do you want?
Yeah, but then they'll moan because I don't care. It's their sister. I've forgotten her name. The tall girl, the tall lady.
Laura.
No, the one who does the urban cube.
Oh,
Shemiza.
Shemiza.
Yeah, she tells me off for wearing my football top. Brother, can you come in and wear a shirt? But she hasn't been here daytimes for a while there. So
Why did she say that?
I don't know. I just
She can't wear what they want.
Well, what I was thinking, this one with the problems with the Labour Party in crisis. What I was thinking, I've crossed out the teen murder because I don't think I'll have time to do that. What I was thinking is merge talking about the problems with Labour.
Oh, is that just us?
Yeah, and merge that with us moving on about the doctor strike, what the problems with the doctor strike, losing manpower, why? Because they start to go abroad because their debts are too high and they've got better opportunities abroad. So we can actually merge a lot of the second half as we go. I mean, there's a lot there for us to go through. So.
All right.
Anyway, I don't know why I keep. He hasn't put that on, has he? How'd you put that on? Do you know?
Oh. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, that's better. Yeah, every time I'm here, I don't know why my nose starts running.
That.
No, it's not on. You probably say, oh, it's because you were sitting and they had it on in the other one. I don't think it is. Right. So when we go back on, I've got to pull the PC down, yeah?
PC down here, and then put the mics up.
Yeah. I think my battery needs changing. My watch is slowing down. I have to say, I wasn't expecting that in the news today, the Palestine action case.
Let's start with that then.
Yeah, could do. I really wasn't expecting that.
There's just reinforcing that there is justice in this country. There are people who are free thinking around and not pressurizing the grand direction. Although the original decision was pressurized, I think.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back. This is Abu Bakr Cooper with Zafar. How are you, folks? How are you, Zafar?
Alhamdulillah. Yes, this is still Inspire FM 105.1 FM, and you're listening to right now live with me, with Zafar Iqbal, who's co-hosting with Dr. ABC.
Now, folks, we thought that we'd speak about this news that came up this morning about the High Court's decision, where they've actually said that the decision to make the whole organisation of Palestine Action, they've actually said that it was unlawful. But for the time being, that they haven't completely stopped the prescription of the group, and the reason is because they are allowing a time period for the government to challenge the decision if they want to. And of course,
the interesting thing is all the three judges who do review this. Is it High Court? Yeah, High Court.
It was the High Court. Yeah.
Yeah, High Court, and the three judges, their verdict is based on the fact that the threshold to be considered for terrorism has not been reached by the actions of them, in their opinion. And to be honest, right, in many ways, that could open up challenges to many of the people who have been convicted under the Terrorism Act already. Could argue that their threshold hasn't been reached because some of them have been arrested under terrorism for verbal things. They've said verbally, etc., etc. So it's got.
Well, also a large number of them for just holding up a piece of cardboard, saying
Well, I'm
with the words on there saying that they support the group.
Yeah, I'm extending this, right? Extending this to other people who have been convicted. Who've been convicted for non-violent offences because they're found to have, I don't know, some manual, right? Somewhere, or they've read some documents associated with somebody, or they've said a particular word, which is resulted in them being labelled as terrorists and being convicted. So it's got a wide-ranging, I guess, impact. However, it's open to challenge, and there's also always a High Court and there's a Supreme Court as well to go for review if that's needed. I guess I'm not sure it quite works like that, but anyway, but that's it is a very major decision. But I tell you something, Dr. ABC. Well, I read that, and in my mind, that basically reinforced in many ways that in this country, in UK, even though a lot of the things that have been done lately have been, corroding the people's trust in the whole system. This, I think, is in many ways reinforced that there are people who are trying to be, truthful to the law rather than being, pressurized into acting in particular. I'm sure that sort of thing happens. But there's two examples. There's this example, and also Sami Hamdi's release in America, where he was charged under sort of suspicious circumstances, etc., and the judges basically intervened and whatnot. So again, it kind of reinforces the trust in the system, which is very important in these troubling times.
Yeah, I mean, it reinforces why it is so vitally important that the power of law must always be number one, not the law of power.
Indeed.
I mean,
we're not putting it.
Well, because there's a certain place, which I'm sure all the listeners will know what I'm talking about, where the absolute reverse has been happening over the last few months.
Does it begin with P, place?
Sorry?
Does that place begin with P?
Well, I'm thinking about what happened in Venezuela.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about another country where the power has subsumed the law.
Yeah.
But, anyway.
So I'll just read out here something that Palestine's Action's co-founder Huda Amori, she said that the ruling, quote, was a monumental victory for both our fundamental freedoms in Britain and in the struggle for freedom for the Palestine people. Now, I've actually got an analysis here that I took from the BBC site, and the reason why, I'm quite happy to use it as a source because it was a really good summary, and I learned a lot going through it. So I'm going to take you through the analysis. So the High Court scrutinised when it became necessary for a Home Secretary to use their power to ban a group under terrorism laws. The judges said that it's one thing for a minister to find that a group was involved in terrorism, and the High Court said that a small number of incidents carried out by Palestine Action had crossed that line. But it's another for them to then decide that those incidents meant that the whole group should be banned. The second decision to ban the group required a proper legal assessment of whether, exactly as Zafar said, it was proportionate to do so. Now, this point that the law that the High Court judges have made here makes it really important, because those of us that are not lawyers, we cannot understand how the law works. And of course, proportionate application of the law is how our system works. Because if it didn't, if proportionality wasn't properly there and actions by the judges, where does the thump start being rather than a gentle tap? Where does it start being like a hammer or a sledgehammer, and then smashing everything up and and bringing the extreme? At what point? What I'm trying to get across here: at what point, when the law is enacted, at what point is it going to be deemed to be enough? And this is the key point in the system, is understanding proportionality. And I like this way of putting it. So the BBC's political correspondent, legal correspondent, he said proportionality is a really important part of modern government law. It basically stops ministers from, and I'm going to quote him here, from going, quote, or King Henry VIII and doing whatever they like. This is
I'm on that point.
And I have to say, this is why I make no apologies for actually using this, because the way he used this as an example to explain it, of course, everyone knows, he didn't like this one, I'll chop a head off. We'll find another. Don't like this one, off with their head. I mean, it came, it puts it all in perspective, doesn't it?
But I think what's the important thing here is what the response of the government's going to be, because I think government said they're going to challenge this and they're going to appeal, etc. So there's an appeal to go through. However, I wonder, with the government thumping majority, whether they're going to actually change the law to actually circumvent this. And if they do, it won't be a legal decision; it will be a political decision. And I think originally this decision to actually prescribe this organization was actually a political one.
Well, on this point, Zafar, I'm going to take you back to actually what has actually been going on over the last few days with Labour.
Yeah.
I mean, Labour, our government, let's not beat around the bush. Our government is in complete crisis mode at the moment. It looks like it's fatally wounded. We've seen a situation where they had this issue. They wanted to keep the two-child cap, and then there was a rebellion by the Labour MPs themselves, and the government had to climb down. Then they were trying to bring in and get rid of support for disabled people, the most vulnerable people in society. They wanted to cut their benefits. And again, there was another revolt. So and then of course there's been a massive loss of trust over the handling of Gaza.
Indeed.
And good journalism, which I'd like to say we've been part of. We've been speaking up on this and saying, what has been going on in Gaza, it wasn't acceptable. I mean, even now, there's not really a ceasefire.
Well, to be honest, you're quite right. In some ways, I haven't always voted for Labour. I'm not a Labour fan at the moment, and definitely not fan of Keir. But I have to say, some of the mess that they're quite trying to clear up is being left by the other party. That was really, really disastrous, to be honest. They came in, they were a wrecking ball. They came in and wrecked the country. and to turn it around is going to be a mammoth job. But having said that, you've got the Labour Party knowing full well the wrecking ball has been used in the whole political, economic, and whatever spheres there were, has actually, they didn't come back. They didn't come with a vision. They didn't come with a vision. They didn't come with a plan, right? And they've been found out. Basically,
they've been rudderless.
Yes, indeed.
They've literally, since the government took over, everyone has been saying, well, what do Labour really stand for? And it's very difficult to definitively see. And then, of course, we've just been stumbling from one crisis to another. So, of course, we had the situation where Lord Mandelson was removed from his role of ambassador to the United States.
What has that exposed?
But what has come out is that the Prime Minister knew about his associations with...
It was, in fact, according to Double Down News, he was part of an organisation, right? Some sort of a security establishment, right, where, which was basically, involved in some of these shady things, basically. And Keir was involved at the same time as Mandelson was trying to undermine the Labour leader at that time. So it's really quite telling, really. So.
I mean, you seriously, you couldn't even imagine it. The things that have come out, that the police are now actively investigating.
I hope something comes off of this.
It looks like that there may be criminal charges made. It looks like the police are literally trying to build a case to take to the Crown Prosecution Service. And
I hope this guy goes down, but because here is this guy in a high-powered position as a business secretary, and you've got the Chancellor trying to sort of, steer a course of the economy, and he's trying to sort of get some revenue from some high-earning people, right? Which were kind of like, I guess, and what's happened is that his own minister was actually working with the other party to undermine him.
Yeah,
the elites basically to try and undermine him.
And when he was actually questioned at the dispatch box in the Commons by Kemi Badenoch, she actually said to him, did the Prime Minister know that Lord Mandelson, did he have knowledge that that the issue of him being involved with Jeffrey Epstein at the time when he appointed him? And he stood up and he said, yes, I did. I mean, the thing is that,
I'll come back to that.
The thing is that gets me is, for example, I've worked in education for 30 years. Every time you go to a change school, you have to go through what's called a DBS check, which the police check you to make sure that there's no issues to do, that there's any danger with you working with young people or children, or there's no criminal record. Now, what have we seen? Of course, the most important job in the Foreign Service, ambassador to the United States, do you honestly think that there weren't detailed checks done by the security services? Of course they were. But the point is, you can't say as Prime Minister that you didn't know, because you are the head of those services. You're the Prime Minister. So ipso facto, you would have had to just ignore them and made the appointment anyway. I mean, think about it logically.
Who is
MI?
Roll back that thought.
Well, who is MI5 and who are MI6 accountable to? They report to the PM.
So roll that back a little bit, right? So here's Mandelson, right? He's been recommended for a post of US ambassador. MI5 or MI6 done a check on him. Do you think, right, that they came up and presented the linkages, right, which are coming out to the Prime Minister and ignored them? Do you think that's the case, or do you think it's the case that the security services perhaps,
Look, the point is, there's no way you can tell me that these services that we spend billions on
Didn't know about this.
to know everything about everyone, and of course they can find everything about everyone in public life.
The reason I say that is because if the security services knew about this, right, and they presented it to the Prime Minister, but they didn't tell the police because the law had been broken at that time, or had they not told the police, or maybe the police didn't act on it. It kind of asks, there's lots of questions to be answered there, because you've got a situation where potentially the law was broken, potentially the intelligence services knew about it, potentially the PM knew about it, and potentially the police knew about it, and they didn't do nothing.
Well, here's the irony. So this has all come out, and then what did we have a few days later? That the Prime Minister's former director of communications, a man called Matthew Doyle, who's now been elevated to the Lords. So he's now going to be Lord Matthew Doyle. He campaigned for someone called Sean Morton in 2017 after this person, Sean Morton, had been charged to be in possession of indecent images of children, and he was then convicted. This person was then convicted. And this person has been elevated to the Lords. That came out this week. So it's like, and this is where you had this is where you had Kemi Badenoch standing there at the other side and the opposition in the House of Commons on Tuesday at Prime Minister's questions, saying, well, after the Prime Minister got upset and started saying, oh, well, the opposition had put everyone through austerity, and she retorted, well, we haven't appointed, I'm not going to say the word because obviously I don't risk the station, because you can say anything in Parliament, we're not Parliament, but she actually used the accusation word of the crime. We haven't appointed these sort of people to senior positions. And Starmer got really angry, and he also got angry with the head of the Liberal Democrats. But this is the thing that you can't get. So what has happened? All of this is coming out. What has been the reaction? Morgan McSweeney, Chief of Staff. Okay, so he's resigned, but we all know what that means.
It works behind the shadows. Basically.
Well, basically, either resign or I'll sack you. So it looks better if you resign. Tim Allen, Director of Communications, also resigned. So Chris Warmold, who's the Cabinet Secretary, so basically that is the most senior person in the civil service. So the civil service, these are the people that get the work done that government wants done. So he was the most senior civil servant. So he's now stepped down. So these are the fall guys. These are the patsies.
Apart from the guy.
So this would be like a head teacher appointing someone for these sort of crimes, and then saying, putting their hands up, it wasn't me, and they go and sack their PA. That's effectively what's happened.
Well, actually, if you extend it out, it's those people who are in charge with supplying the information to the Prime Minister, isn't it? And the question is whether they did or not. That's where the judgment is. If they did, they were doing their job, and it's wrong for them to go. But it looks like they have been caught, especially the head of civil service. I don't think that's a political appointment, is it? Head of civil service is not a political appointment. So that person leaving means that there was shortcomings in the information that was supplied, which means that there are people in the civil service probably implicated in some of these activities.
Yeah.
And what surprises me actually is that none of these revelations from Epstein, etc., have actually heavily brought out any conservative figures, including the one I thought might well be on there because of what he did, basically.
I mean, all of this going on, folks, and I'm gonna use this as an opportunity. What are all of the people that go out like you and me and Zafar who work for a living? What are we interested in is our cost of living. So, for example, 4 years ago, I was paying £160 a month for my gas and electricity. Last month, I paid £290. Right. Next situation that we've got, and this links in with one of the reasons why.
Let's focus on cost of living here.
Okay.
It's an important one, cost of living, because it's for that reason that people are struggling, and it's for that reason you've got parties with simple solutions basically coming in and saying, "Oh, it wasn't us that brought us to, out of blame the Europeans for our problems, right? It wasn't us, right? Because the problem that cost of living is impacting, because you've got the same people now giving another set of simple solutions like to people to say, if you sort this problem out now, the immigrants or whatever, then everything's going to be hunky-dory. But the actual problem, which is not being sorted out, is the fact that Britain doesn't have any money, so to speak.
Oh, no, no, that's not true.
No. So in terms of debt servicing and the amount of revenue it has, it needs to increase the debt servicing in order to meet the commitments. And there are no new ways of doing that. And therefore, a bigger slice of the money is going towards debt servicing than projects which benefit the communities.
Well,
right?
It's quite simple. One of the things that governments need to do is stop the loopholes in the tax system. So, for example, we've had all of the business.
I think it's bigger than that, and I've said this in previous programs as well. Now we're borrowing and borrowing and borrowing money, etc.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to say, "I've got to live within my means," and that means a lot of trouble for people, basically. Right. At the moment, we're looking for what we're still doing is borrowing money, right, so that we can carry on expensive things that we're doing as a country. And we've got to stop doing those expensive things, or we've got to say we are paying for debts, right, which date back to the First World War or beyond the First World War, or whatever debts that started accumulating. Yeah, I know there are still small proportions of the debts. Are we going to say after the First World War, right, we're not going to pay for any debt servicing for any debts after that? For example, it could be First World War, it could be Second World War, whatever. Because we've paid enough. It's been a century. We paid 100 years of interest on it. We're going to stop and progressively keep doing that until we can balance the books. Yeah, that's going to have an impact, right, on the markets and all of that, and money lenders and the power they have, and etc. But something like that needs to happen in order to balance the books, because otherwise we're just tweaking. We're trying to sneak pennies from here and there just to balance the books.
Well, you will have heard this week about Jim Ratcliffe, listeners, who made the comments about England has been colonised by immigrants. He said. Now, I'm just gonna take you through a few facts that I've dug up about Jim Ratcliffe. So he is he's one of the part owners of the Manchester United Football Club, and when he uses the word immigrant, seriously, you couldn't make this up, folks. So his primary residence now is the Principality of Monaco. So he's actually an immigrant to Monaco. I mean, this is the truth. I'm telling you the truth. And it's been estimated that because he now calls that his primary residence, it saved him $4 billion.
So when it comes to the UK, he's an immigrant to the UK then?
No. What I'm saying is he's not born and bred in Monaco, is he? So he lives there. So he's an immigrant into Monaco. That's the argument that I'm making. That's what I'm saying. So he's actually... He made his comments about, Britain is in a state because Britain has been colonised by immigrants. Well, look at the hypocrisy of it. He's an immigrant to Monaco. Now, why has he done that? Because the research that I've done doing this is going to save him £4 billion in tax avoidance. Okay, so just so you understand, folks, tax avoidance is what is legal. Tax evasion is what is criminal. Now, the point I'm making here, folks, is that loopholes exist in the tax system for a reason. They're written in there to allow people to use them. Write the tax rules so the loopholes aren't there. It's quite simple. He's got British companies making all of this money, and just put the rule in. It's irrelevant where you decide to live.
If you're trading in the UK,
yes,
if you're manufacturing in the UK,
doesn't matter.
If you earned your money in the UK, you pay tax.
Other countries don't allow you to do this. You can't register your company overseas, like in Luxembourg or the Canary Islands, and therefore say that the tax is going there, and you pay minimal taxes here. This is what is going on with most of the corporations. Other countries don't allow this.
Yeah, I think some countries do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good point, and the fact that his football club, right, has pretty much all the immigrants in there as well. Maybe he's saying that his football club needs to be changed. Maybe, I don't know. But I mean, to be honest, all right. So we're taking a break.
So we've got about 40 seconds, folks.
All right.
Now, folks, just want to say, please think about the things that we covered in the first half. Do your best to get yourselves involved with your local politics. Like I said, the experience of interviewing our local councillors here in Luton, I haven't agreed with everything that I've come across, but I have been impressed by the passion of the councillors that I've seen. And the point is, the more that our politicians see us getting engaged, the more keen that they will be to serve what we want. Jazakallah khair, folks. Have a lovely evening and a lovely weekend. Assalamu alaikum.